What is going on, guys? Today we are going to be talking about my favorite stock in the stock market right now, and that is Alibaba stock. We are going to be going over something that I have touched on in the last couple of videos that I've made over Alibaba, and that is why has the stock not popped off over the huge news that has been released recently? And that is the news that US companies, US auditing firms can now go in and actually audit Chinese companies. And on the on the list of the first few companies to be audited is Alibaba. So why has the stock not popped up with all this auditing information, with US auditing firms being able to finally go in and actually look at Chinese companies? So that is what we're going to get into in this video. So if you like the video, make sure you drop a like down below, and if you want to see more videos like this one, make sure you hit that sub button. Let's take a quick look at their chart. What we can see is over the last 5 days they have had a tough time. We can see that 5 days ago, August 31st, they were up almost at $100, and they tanked all the way down to around $88. They had a few bad days in there, and then overall they've started to level off, over the last day or so. And then today they really kind of spiked up as the rest of the market spiked up. So nothing really crazy going on. This is mainly due to a lot of negativity in the market, more inflation concerns, everything kind of going on there, additional lockdowns in China, things like that. So overall, nothing overly concerning. Obviously lockdowns, we want those to go away in China, but mainly just market moves, a lot of negativity, in the broader market that has affected Alibaba. Here we have an article by CNBC, and it's titled, "The US and China are one step closer to preventing stocks like Alibaba from delisting. What to watch next?" So this is what we're going to be getting into in this video, is all the information in this article. And the first thing up here is what I mentioned there in the intro. So the US Public Company Accounting Oversight Board said its inspectors are set to arrive in Hong Kong in mid-September, shortly after which all audit work papers requested by the PCAOB must be made available to them. What needs to happen next is a smooth ongoing inspection in China by the US and adequate support from the Chinese authorities, analysts say. So again, just huge news kind of coming out, right? That US companies, US auditing firms are now going to be able to go in and look at Chinese companies' books and audit them. And then really what I've kind of touched on in previous videos is that this all needs to happen in a smooth way, right? If they find something weird going on in the books underneath the surface, then that will send up red flags, and they won't get approval to basically stay listed on the New York Stock Exchange. So that's what we're looking at here. We have another important point here, and that is the work papers record the audit procedures, tests, gathered information, and conclusions about the review, according to the PCAOB. And it's not clear what level of high sensitivity information, if any, would be included in the work paper. So this is important, right? Because basically it's saying, what exactly is the PCAOB going to request from companies like Alibaba and other Chinese companies? Are they going to get into a lot of the high sensitivity information that China has tried to basically prevent the US from having access to, right? They've claimed that a lot of this could be a national security risk if, they allow the US this information. So really, are they going to insist on having a lot of this information, or are they going to kind of back off and do maybe like a lighter audit, right? There's different levels of audits that a lot of these companies conduct, and depending on how serious the audit is, which at this point you'd kind of expect it to be at least somewhere in the middle ground, if not higher sensitivity, just because they haven't been into China to audit them in, I think, over a year. So really, with all that going on, the question will be, is China willing to hand over this information to these auditing firms to actually look at and go over? With everything going on, we've had a lot of comments from both sides, good and bad. Here we have the head of private equity for Greater China and a partner at Hagen Lovells basically say that I see this as big progress, meaning that both sides are willing to take steps to move forward. So basically this audit deal allowing the US to go in and audit Chinese companies, this is huge progress, moving forward. And this is obviously from someone, who's based in China. So they're seeing this as a good deal, good for both sides, right? You have to remember that the Chinese economy is hurting right now as well. They are going through, basically our 2008. They're starting to go into and head into a housing recession, basically driven recession. And this is only going to benefit, remaining on the New York Stock Exchange is only going to benefit the, Chinese economy overall, as, there's more trust between the US, as, some of these deals come about and things like that, as obviously the China exports a lot of goods to the US. So overall, this is a positive thing for both sides if everything goes through smoothly. And then obviously there are bad comments. So this deal is overall kind of has the feeling of being a bit rushed. And what we can see here is we have the Hong Kong-based Association of Chinese Internal Auditors, so the president of that association, saying that our accounting firms still do not know how to proceed. So they still don't have information about how this audit is going to proceed. And then he says down here, give us some guidelines. So basically they're still trying to figure out, what is this US audit going to look like? Are we going to be willing and able to provide all the documents that the US is looking for? They're really looking for some guidance. And what he goes on to say is the inspection should go smoothly if it's just a matter of accountants on both sides and there being no political interference on the US side. So again, being from the Chinese side, obviously he's going to look at the US and say the US needs to make sure that their government is not interfering with this deal and with everything that's going on, right? We're purely looking at the numbers, we're looking at the companies and going forward with that. So overall, again, some negativity here on this side. It's not good that they don't have these figured out, but it's also kind of expected because this deal has in turn kind of been rushed to, get ahead of things. And the reason this deal is really being rushed and why some of these things haven't been ironed out is because the PCAOB has to make a determination on Chinese companies by December. So they are looking at a lot of these Chinese companies, especially Alibaba, and basically saying, hey, did they provide the information in the audit that we need to be able to say, yes, you can stay listed on the New York Stock Exchange? And a lot of US regulators basically think that by October or November, we will have a good idea of where the PCAOB will actually stand on their decision. So that's when we'll have a better understanding of where delisting will, whether these companies will be delisted or not. So that's really the biggest reason right there as to why Alibaba hasn't popped off, right? A lot of people want to make sure this audit goes well, because if it doesn't go well, and right, there has been a lot of tension between the US and China, if it doesn't go well and that tension kind of persists, then there's a good chance that Alibaba will still be delisted, right? They still have to pass the audit is basically what people are, worried about, right? They are now allowed to get audited, but the question is, will they pass the audit? And there's kind of, a question of, okay, what's the chance that they aren't going to pass the audit? And right now the stock market thinks that that's basically the same as it was before, even being able to be audited. So a lot of question marks still up in the air about Alibaba stock. One thing that could really help the situation is Joe Biden and basically President Xi Jinping, they plan or are hoping to meet sometime in the fall. So this would actually be their first meeting under the Biden administration, which again, it's been kind of quite a while, but also we've had COVID and other things going on. So it would be huge for the two of them, right, to meet, discuss some of these matters, discuss some of these things going on, and, start working through them at a higher level and, pushing people underneath them to actually get things done. What could be worrisome, right? We've seen a lot of politicians go to Taiwan, and Taiwan is kind of a weird situation, with China still saying that they're part of China and the US kind of recognizing them as their own country. If there's something where, Joe Biden, goes to Taiwan, or we see a lot of politicians going back to Taiwan or visiting Taiwan again, then that could kind of outrage a lot of the Chinese, officials, and that could, turn things for the worse. That's kind of the biggest thing right now that's been going on that could potentially affect, this deal and everything moving forward how you would expect it to. Overall, personally, again, I do own Alibaba shares and I am still long Alibaba. I think that it is a good company. I think they have, a lot of short-term drama that they need to get through. The real thing that'll be interesting is, right, if everything goes, smoothly and everything comes out on the other side, how much will the stock pop off, right? How much will the market react? I would not be surprised to see it move into, at least the 120s, but I would kind of expect it to move, more into like the 150 range and kind of pop off as a lot of these things have kind of subsided. The real question, the reason I don't see it popping off, much more and going up much more than, maybe 150 to maybe 165 is because there is still a lot of economic concerns with China, right? They still have lockdowns. They still have this housing market crash that they are going through. There's still a lot of, question marks there that still need to be resolved. So they're definitely not going to be popping back up to all-time highs like $300, but I think they should get a good bump, from everything if everything goes smoothly and, they get that thumbs up from the auditing agencies. So overall, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you drop a like down below. And if you want to see more videos like this one, make sure you hit that sub button. And as always, guys, have a wonderful rest of your day.